A tragedy on Christmas morning, what we know about a deadly house fire in Cecil County.
A carjacking on Christmas Eve caught on camera. Why police say they won't let the public see the footage.
And an 18-year-old facing adult charges in the Brooklyn Day mass shooting could be under juvenile supervision soon. Why one victim's family may not be alone in their frustration.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Some sad news this morning. A child is dead and a family is homeless after a Christmas morning fire in Elkton. Firefighters say they responded to the scene on Willow Drive around 7:30 this morning. Residents who escaped the fire told first responders there was still a girl trapped inside the house.
Firefighters were able to find her, but she was later pronounced dead at the scene. That victim is believed to be a 10-year-old girl that lived in the home. It took around 75 firefighters nearly an hour to put out the flames. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Rebecca Breyer.
And I'm Vincent Hill. Even around the holidays, it's not stopping people from being a Grinch and doing carjackings. Now, Baltimore County confirmed there was a carjacking around 1 o'clock on Christmas Eve in Pikesville.
Yeah, Baltimore County, the Grinch is stealing cars, Vince. They also say that the incident was caught on camera, but tonight, police not releasing any details or surveillance video, despite concerned residents calling for transparency. Any other day,
and I come here a lot,
a flat tire would be nothing more than a nuisance.
This is where I get air, this is where I get gas, this is where I get lottery, the convenience store. And this area is usually a secure area.
But on the heels of a Christmas Eve carjacking.
For that to happen, it's a quite disturbing situation in this area.
Maxine Robinson relieved her husband came to help.
I would have been out here by myself, stranded.
According to the Baltimore Shambrim, a community watch group with several security cameras scattered across the county, surveillance footage of the attack at a Shell gas station in the Green Springs Shopping Center was promptly sent to the Baltimore County Police Department. The video allegedly capturing suspects in 2 cars swarming someone at the gas pump, assaulting them, then driving away with a stolen Hyundai.
It definitely puts me on edge because, like I said, I always look at this area as like a secure area, like nothing like that happens in this area.
However, police not prompt in warning the public. Police confirming the incident to Fox 45, but refusing to release any details or the surveillance footage, claiming, quote, "This case is currently open. We do not release evidentiary materials that could potentially jeopardize the integrity of an ongoing investigation."
They should release it to the public to see.
Makes perfect. What we are doing is we're allowing these kids to be caught and released so they can practice their criminal activity.
So Charles learned no witnesses the next time because 6 months later, he robbed and murdered my daughter.
Executed.
And Fox 45 News has spoke to several attorneys not affiliated with the Jackson case, saying they're shocked he's being sent to a juvenile facility.
Legally speaking, minors are minors and adults are adults. It just doesn't seem to follow the logical course of where most cases track.
It is highly unusual for something like this to occur.
It would be extremely rare, no doubt.
And last week we asked if if you think Tristan should be sent to a juvenile adult facility. So far, 97% of those who voted say adult facility.
Again, Tristan Jackson was one of 2 suspects on DJS ankle monitors at the time of the Brooklyn Day mass shooting. The incident is now raising questions about how DJS keeps track of those under their supervision.
Back in August, the department told Fox 45 that they have 14 staff members for more than 100 kids on home monitoring. That's about a 1-to-9 ratio. DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi is at the center of some of the complaints against the department. Schiraldi facing pushback on his views about the adult prison system. He believes that people shouldn't be exposed to the adult prison system until the age of 25 because scientists say that their brains aren't fully developed. While Governor Moore has called Schiraldi a reformer, others say it's time for change.
When it comes to hearing from DJS specifically, what do you want to hear from the secretary about what's going on?
His resignation. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but I just don't think he gets it.
The real person I'm concerned about is my cousin Vinny. He's arrogant and he's ignorant. If he had a clue, he would know what the old folks know: a burnt child dreads fire. These kids need consequences.
At a public safety town hall held last Monday, a deputy city state's attorney went back and forth with Schiraldi about DJS data and what she calls a lack of transparency from the department.
Secretary Schiraldi, I would really love to see your data.
Absolutely.
Because and this is from 22.
Yeah, and you're going to see the next one in less than a month. I'd like to see some data from you, though. I'm not really hearing too much data from your office.
Fox 45 News has been following the issues surrounding the Department of Juvenile Services for months now. You can find our complete coverage at foxbaltimore.com.
Well, guess what? Another year without a white Christmas in Baltimore. This is a live look now at the Inner Harbor, Townsend, and our weather radar. Rain could be on the way later this week. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart joins us with the latest. Wyatt.
Yeah, no question about it. No chance for a white Christmas this year. Not just Baltimore. I'm talking like Chicago to Boston. It's snow-free, and we were mild today. Almost 60 in Baltimore and the BWI. Not quite, but still a very mild Christmas day. Hope you had a chance to get out and enjoy it this afternoon. Tonight down in the mid-40s. And yes, all good things must come to an end. We've got rain big time on the way, edging its way in out of the west. Big weather maker extending from the Midwest down through the south. We're going to get into this wet weather starting tomorrow, and it's going to hang around a while for several days, actually. In the meantime, enjoy a quiet evening in the 40s. We'll talk more about when that rain system gets out of here and when the next cold blast arrives. That's coming up.
All right, well, some of you have been sharing your Christmas photos with us. Take a look at this. Kiara sending us this picture of her little doggy, all dressed up for the holiday.
Oh, it's so cute. And then we have this photo too. This is Ripken and his big brother Blake. I'm assuming we might have some Orioles fans, parents. What do you think, Ripken and Blake?
Yeah.
This
Probably.
is a picture of them with their presents under the tree. They are too cute, and we hope that they had a very Merry Christmas this morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, we want to see more from you. So to share your pics and your videos of your holiday celebrations, head to foxbaltimore.com/chime in. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 10, police and firefighters experience trauma as a result of their everyday jobs, and many say they turn to drugs or alcohol to fight the pain. How a former firefighter who struggled with addiction is helping others get back on their feet. A police officer turned U.S. Marshal reflects on his career path, why he says faith has been a guiding principle in his more than 50 years of service. And after the break, Project Baltimore takes us to a school with one of the highest poverty rates in Maryland, how teachers are making sure they see the world through their students' eyes.
Welcome back. It is the poorest school in Washington County, Maryland, and yet it's on par with some of the best schools in the state.
Yeah, and as Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, there's a secret to success at Salem Avenue Elementary.
After 11 years, it's become a tradition in this Hagerstown community.
It's a great way to build community and just be out in force here. I took two. That's all right. Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. Here we go. Avon Road. All right. He really was a cutie patootie.
1 week before the start of school, equipped with maps and student lists.
Hannah's in your homeroom, right? Yep. Okay. Like the one we're heading to next, I had his sister in 3rd grade, so she's gonna be a 5th grader this year.
Teachers from Salem Avenue Elementary hit the streets for what's known as the Blitz.
Hey! Hi, Maynard! How are you? Is Kimberly back there too? Hi, Kimberly!
Molly Adams and Stacy Yost teach 3rd grade at Salem Avenue. Together, they have 30 students on their list. That's 30 homes to visit.
All 4 of these awesome teachers, we're all going to get to see you and work with you during the day. It's so important to build those relationships because kids can't access the learning if they don't feel important and valued.
For 3 hours, they knock on doors, introduce themselves.
We're the teachers. We just came to say hey.
Meet their students and their families.
Nice to see you. I'm Mrs. Adams. How are you?
Principal Thomas Garner created the Blitz in 2012. Yep. He wanted teachers to see firsthand how their students live and the challenges they face. Because at Salem Avenue Elementary, every student faces challenges. According to federal data, 100% of the students live in poverty.
We got great kids here, we got great parents here, but really, teachers, normally these walls protect them from the outside world.
So there's 923, so yeah, it's right over there. Oh,
Garner says teachers who want to work at Salem Avenue have to understand where their students come from.
They're going to have bad days just like everyone else. They may not have power on a day. They may not have great weather when they're walking a mile to school. These are things that they have to understand.
Hagerstown is a blue-collar town of about 43,000 people with a higher poverty rate than Baltimore City, and many of the families who live here are dealing with addiction. The city sits at the intersection of Interstates 70 and 81, known as the Heroin Highway.
Javar, welcome to 3rd grade. And
the Blitz gives teachers insight into their students' lives. Knowing what they're coping with at home helps teachers better teach.
I think it has made them more humanistic. I think it's also really in some weird ways really helped them push their expectations higher. You know, I'm a firm believer that you can't feel sorry for anyone. Feeling sorry for someone never has made them stronger.
There are roughly 1,400 public schools in Maryland. 98 have 100% poverty, meaning they receive extra federal funding to help low-income students. At Salem Avenue, every student is eligible for free breakfast and lunch, and any extra money goes towards books. The school has placed a strong emphasis on literacy, teaching children to love reading. And it's working.
We work with 50?
In a state where the poorest areas tend to have the lowest rated schools, Salem is proving that doesn't need to be the case. On the latest Maryland State Report Card, which measures schools based on factors such as test scores, attendance, and academic progress, Salem earned 3 out of 5 stars. This school had the highest score in the state among those with 100% poverty.
I'm Mrs. Adams.
And I'm Mrs. Yost.
Yes!
Mrs. Yost! Yes! My friend Lily loved you as a 3rd grade.
Oh, Lily.
So sweet.
For Adams and Yost, the Blitz
I heard really great things about her.
is about meeting kids where they are.
I get you in the afternoon for reading and English and writing. Do you like to read? Yeah, I can tell.
making a connection
You know what?
before they ever enter the classroom.
You don't remember a specific lesson usually. You don't remember a specific test, unless it was really tragic. But you do remember your teachers, you remember your friends, you remember an experience that you had.
It validates what I do every day, what we do every day, because some days are harder than others.
We're so glad we got to see you. Thanks for
Here,
hollering
Jackson,
so we
high
can come
five.
over, okay?
We'll be looking for you, okay?
All right, bud. See ya.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Coming up, a historic change in the state's Marshal service. We're talking one-on-one with its leader as he prepares to end a decades-long career in law enforcement.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill gearing up for a very busy 2024. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a look at what's on their to-do lists.
And weather-wise today, it was quiet for a Christmas day and mild, almost 60 degrees out there. Now, radar getting more active. We've got rain pushing in out of the south and west. That's going to continue to bring the precipitation into our area for the midweek around here. So we'll talk about how much rain and what you can expect for the latter part of the week in terms of a cold blast. It's all coming up.
And before that rain, let's go ahead and take a look out in Towson. Look at that tree. Look how lovely it is. Don't forget, it's Christmas. I hope you got everything you wanted. We'll be right back. Making headlines tonight, the FBI is working with local law enforcement in Colorado to track threats against state Supreme Court justices. Now, the threats are in response to the court's ruling to keep Donald Trump off the state's 2024 primary ballot. Authorities say some social media posts are threatening to reveal the judge's personal information. While there's no specific threat on any of the justices' lives, the FBI is worried there could be a violent response to the court's ruling. Both chambers of Congress are set to have a busy start to 2024 when they're back in session. Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman has a look at things lawmakers need and want to get done and what's shaping up to be a pivotal election year.
After wrapping up a rocky 2023, there are a number of issues lawmakers hope to tackle in the new year.
The biggest issue that I hear on the campaign trail is the border.
We have not passed the critical support for Ukraine, for Israel.
But one of the first on their to-do list, keeping the government open. Congress has until January 19th to agree on legislation to avert a partial shutdown. That's when funding for executive departments like Transportation, Veterans Affairs, and Agriculture expires. Other funding, including the Defense Department's, runs out 2 weeks later. And with a $34 trillion national debt, many members believe Congress needs to get its fiscal house in order.
The economic situation with inflation and cost of goods and grocery store costs and gas is a situation that needs to become more controlled. And we can do a part of that here in the United States Senate and in Congress by reining in our spending.
Another concern, the crisis at the southern border. More than 2.4 million people were apprehended in fiscal year 2023, the third record-setting year in a row.
Right now, it's costing the American taxpayer about $451 billion a year to take care of all these. It's kind of funny how some of these mayors and some of these cities are starting to wake up.
House Republicans will also carry over a number of investigations into the new year, including the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden over his family's business dealings, particularly those of his son Hunter. Democrats, though, feel attention should be elsewhere.
We got problems with infrastructure, problems with health care. The rest of the world is looking to the U.S.
With the House and Senate majorities up for grabs, and of course the White House too, a lot can happen between now and the November elections. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Coming up, a state-of-the-art recovery center is helping our first responders. An inside look at the effort to take care of those who protect and serve. And protesters are trying to put pressure on top U.S. officials with Christmas Day demonstrations across the U.S. outside their homes. The ongoing conflict over the war in the Middle East. Tonight, we take you to Harford County in part 2 of our series on first responder mental health.
It's where a state-of-the-art recovery center is helping first responders face their demons. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker has the story.
Most of them have so many things going on.
In Havre de Grace, at the mouth of the Susquehanna River, is an inconspicuous but invaluable resource for first responders nationwide.
I recognized early on when I was a firefighter just how deprived this community is of getting the right kind of help. They're sicker, they're more mentally ill today.
Retired volunteer firefighter Ken Byer is the founder and CEO of Harbor of Grace Enhanced Recovery Center.
I just saw how sick, mentally ill a lot of first responders are that suffer from addiction and depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders, and they don't get any help for it. They don't get the right kind of help.
Ken was once one of them.
Medically, psychiatrically.
Now sober himself. It was a place just like this. He knew those just like him, so desperately needed.
They're a very difficult population. They're very private.
A place where first responders struggling with mental health and addiction problems can come and let their guard down.
We see in the last 3 or 4 years increase in anxiety, depression, other process addictions.
I only wish I would have got here a decade sooner.
Robert Quick.
I joined the police department in March the 2nd of 1995.
And Robert Brown.
Served 32 years and a couple months. Just recently retired July 1.
Are both former Baltimore City police officers with a combined nearly 60 years on the job.
"32 years in a place becomes your identity. You make a lot of great friends, which become family."
And while it's clear the badge has fulfilled them in many ways, it took a lot from them too.
In 26 years, I had buried subordinates and coworkers from line of duty deaths. I'd seen friends get injured on the job, wearing colostomy bags from being shot on the job. Handful of lawsuits, handful of high-profile incidents. Was involved in a police-involved shooting. A lot of trauma, a lot that occurred in that period of time.
For Quick, it was addiction that brought him to Harbor of Grace.
What started as a socially drinking became more and more dependent on alcohol.
Found to be under the influence at work, he knew it was time to get help.
I never drank on the job. I never drank before the job, but was still at an intoxicated level from drinking the night before, many hours later while on duty. And I had no idea that was the case and that's where I was.
When checking in at the recovery center, patients first go through a medical and psychiatric assessment, spending a few days here in the medical wing.
We look at their home life, we look at what does their recovery look like when they leave here? Is there a good family support system in place? Is there a good departmental support in place? So we look at everything here, and then we assign them to the right therapist, the correct therapist that's going to be able to help them with their particular needs.
Each patients have their own sinks for their own personal hygiene and cleanup, medical supplies, fresh bedding and linens, and a place for them to unpack and make this home.
Encouraging them to face their demons.
So coming here and actually getting to work with a counselor, getting to unpack that, getting the educational piece around trauma and stress and triggers and whatnot, really opened my eyes and allowed me to start dealing with things in a healthy and proactive, productive way, as opposed to just turning to a substance to numb myself.
And it's more than just addiction treatment. Often it's officer-involved shootings and other traumatic on-the-job experiences that bring first responders in.
We'll say it was a critical incident.
For Brown, one day on the job, the details of which he's choosing to keep private, changed everything.
I kept thinking about it. I didn't, I just kept thinking about what I could have done better, everything you can imagine, I thought about it.
He spent a week in recovery along a community of other officers who just got it.
One of the guys who is a great friend now, he looked into my eyes and said, "There's nothing there. There is no life." He goes, "I've been there, I've done that." He goes, "You need to be here." So I came.
With inpatient and outpatient care and a 24-hour mobile response team.
These plaques represent either the badges or patches of different law enforcement agencies that have actually had persons come through the program.
The Recovery Center has helped officers from all 50 states.
Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County.
And served 700 agencies nationwide.
It's been a godsend.
It's had such an impact on Brown and Quick.
Go with that.
I go with that.
Now they're both full-time employees at Harbor of Grace.
It's very rewarding.
It's a whole new career.
We have a saying around here, nobody comes in here on a winning streak, generally speaking, but once people are here, they absolutely love it, see the benefit, and say that they wish they could have got here sooner.
And while they've hung up their uniforms,
you'll always be a cop. You'll always be a cop.
At their core, they're still the same.
I love watching guys come in, beat down, and just seeing them bring life back into them.
Just two men with a passion for helping others.
Watch them smile and giggle and laugh and cut up with everybody else.
Who also had the power to help themselves.
It just makes you feel good.
In Havre de Grace, Maxine Stryker.
It's nice to give back to your brother or sister.
Fox 45 News.
Such an inspiring story. If you want to watch our full coverage on the mental health crisis facing police officers in Baltimore, head on over to foxbaltimore.com.
Making headlines, multiple Christmas Day protests in front of key U.S. officials' homes. These demonstrations both centered around ongoing conflict in Gaza. On the left, this was the scene outside Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's home in Virginia. Multiple pro-Palestinian groups chanted "No Christmas" during a genocide and "Ceasefire now." Meanwhile, demonstrators also gathered outside National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan's house in D.C. Those protesters also calling for the U.S. to back off its support of Israel during its war with Hamas.
In the meantime, we're seeing instances of apparent anti-Semitism in Baltimore. Two of the homes on the Miracle on 34th Street lights display are allegedly the targets of vandalism. The homeowners saying that they found smashed watermelons in their yards and on their holiday displays. Jewish residents in the area are saying that the vandalism is just the latest in a series of anti-Semitic incidents that they've faced since the start of the war in the Middle East.
I had a man go, call me a dirty Jew multiple times. And it wasn't anything to do with the protest, and this is completely unrelated. But that's what our life is now. That's what we're living.
I think vandalizing an individual's front yard because of a flag that they hang in their window doesn't accomplish anything other than make me feel less safe.
And Baltimore City Councilman Yitzi Schleifer is saying that city leaders are partially to blame for the recent anti-Semitism in the city. Schleifer pointing to a failure to pass a resolution condemning anti-Semitism. Multiple council members who blocked the initial resolution later proposed a new one condemning all forms of hate and calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. That second resolution also failed to pass.
The U.S. Marshal Service is tasked with protecting judges, capturing fugitives, and other federal law enforcement responsibilities. In Maryland, Johnny Hughes led the agency for more than 30 years. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost and photojournalist Nathan Aaron sat down with Hughes as he reflects on his career.
58 years in law enforcement. I've been very blessed.
They say a photo is worth 1,000 words.
That was his inauguration.
And in this house, it's like history is hanging on the walls.
During this inauguration, January 20th, '89, I was sitting right beside Donald Trump.
Johnny Hughes has met with several top political leaders.
I rode on Air Force one time.
From both sides of the aisle, learning quickly how important relationships are and how small the world can be.
Yeah, he and I go back to 1972 when his first wife died in that terrible car accident up in Wilmington. His daughter got killed, his wife, and Beau Biden and Hunter Biden were in the vehicle too, but they survived.
Hughes sent help to Delaware while he was serving with the state police.
He and I always stayed in touch, and he always sends me a birthday card on my birthday, and I always send him one on his birthday, November 20th. And I talked to him about 6 months ago.
This photo starts Hughes's journey with the U.S. Marshal Service.
I was appointed by G.W. Bush, he gave me my badge in the White House with his father, George Herbert Walker Bush, who I was very good friends with.
After nearly 30 years with the Maryland State Police, Hughes was appointed as U.S. Marshal for the District of Maryland in 2002 and has lasted through several administrations.
I didn't know Obama, but I got called down by Joe Biden, who was vice president at the time. You know, he asked me to stay and asked me if I would want to stay, and I told him I was humbled, yeah, and I really would like to stay.
The same thing happened with former President Donald Trump, and again recently.
Biden came in, the same thing happened. They asked me to stay again. I always think it's about the heart and the character of the individual, not what political party you are or what church you belong to.
And speaking of church, the signs are sprinkled throughout the home. During his life, Hughes has kept his faith close to his heart.
Galatians 6:22 says we need to share each other's burdens, take the focus off ourselves and put it on other people. It makes you much happier when you can help somebody. My grandfather always told me, he said, always stay kind and humble, grandson. Nobody likes a proud, puffed-up big shot. And I always remember that. By doing that, you're doing the work of God.
Law enforcement runs in the family, too. Hughes' two sons, both joining the ranks of the Maryland State Police in 1993. Hughes has seen a lot in the last 20 or 30 years and remains hopeful the grip violent crime holds on Baltimore will be broken.
The bad element out there, that they pick up a gun, and a lot of times I see that the punishment's not commensurate with a crime. I see it changing for the better under Ivan Bates. Hopefully the mayor and the city council will back him, and the governor, and also our General Assembly members in Annapolis.
But with any journey, it must eventually come to an end. And this year, Hughes was ready for a change.
Stayed the longest serving marshal in the country.
After more than 5 decades working in public safety, Hughes decided it was time to wear the gold badge for the final time. A humble man met with a token of gratitude.
The judges gave me this when I left. They kind of surprised me. I didn't really want a retirement party or anything. But they all called me down to the courtroom down at 1A, and Judge Berdar, the chief judge, had them all standing there in their black robes. And then when I come in, you know, I got a little teared up and choked up. It touched my heart. I didn't expect anything like that. It felt good. I mean, I wasn't trying to set any records or anything like that.
Keeping true to the message from his grandfather, Hughes still plans to try and take the focus off himself.
I feel like I've really been blessed, and my 78 years on this earth, I just want to keep working for the community, for the churches, and for everyone, you know, here that needs my help or whatever I can do to contribute.
In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
This is one you're going to want to stick around for. We are taking a look back at an unforgettable high five. Fox 45 is showing you one of our favorite Maryland moments.
All right, fantastic. Weather-wise today, pretty fantastic Christmas day. We stayed dry, we stayed mild, even the sun out, but now we've got big-time rain on the march into Maryland. We'll talk about when it arrives, when it clears out. It's coming up.